Welcome to my channel. Listen to my stories every day. Comment, like and subscribe to my channel. Enjoy listening.
The moment I saw her walk through the door, I knew something was off. Chelsea, my wife of 7 years, looked unusually flustered. Her hair, usually perfectly styled, was slightly disheveled, and her makeup appeared hastily applied. But it wasn't her appearance that set off the alarm bells in my head, it was her left hand. Or, more precisely, the lack of a ring on her left hand. "Hey, babe," I greeted her, trying to keep my voice casual as I set the dinner table. "How was your day?" Chelsea forced a smile, her eyes darting nervously around the room. "It was fine, just the usual chaos at work." She quickly moved to the kitchen, avoiding my gaze. My heart pounded in my chest as I followed her. "Lose something today?" I asked, my tone sharper than I intended. She froze, her back to me. Slowly, she turned around, her eyes wide with surprise. "What do you mean?" "Your wedding ring. It's not on your finger," I said, pointing to her bare hand. The color drained from her face. "Oh, that," she stammered, awkwardly scratching the back of her neck. I lost it." "Well, not lost it, I found it, but I forgot to put it back on. It must have slipped off at work, and I found it under my desk." Her explanation felt rehearsed, too quick, too convenient. "You found it and forgot to put it on?" I repeated, raising an eyebrow. "That doesn't sound like you, Chelsea. You never take that ring off." Chelsea's eyes flashed with something, fear, guilt, or maybe both. I know. It's just been a hectic day. I'm sorry, Alex. I'll put it on right now." She rummaged through her purse, pulling out the ring and sliding it back onto her finger. I watched her closely, the seed of doubt planted firmly in my mind. "Hectic day, huh? Anything you want to talk about?" She shook her head quickly, a bit too quickly. "No, just the usual. Meetings, deadlines, the works." I nodded, forcing a smile. "All right. Dinner's almost ready. I made your favorite, lasagna." Her eyes softened slightly, and she managed a more genuine smile. "Thanks, Alex. That sounds great." As we sat down to eat, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The evening wore on with forced conversation and awkward silences. Chelsea seemed distant, her mind elsewhere, and my thoughts kept circling back to that missing ring. It wasn't just the ring, it was the look in her eyes, the nervous way she had avoided my questions. After dinner, Chelsea excused herself to take a shower. I watched her go, my mind racing. Was I being paranoid? Or was there something more to her story? I decided to do a little investigating of my own. While she was upstairs, I went through her purse. It felt wrong, an invasion of privacy, but my gut told me I needed answers. I found her phone and hesitated. Did I really want to go down this path? What if I found something I couldn't unsee? Taking a deep breath, I unlocked her phone. My heart raced as I scrolled through her messages, looking for anything out of the ordinary. At first, everything seemed normal, texts from coworkers, friends, family. But then I found a series of messages from someone named DJ Mike. The messages were cryptic, but the tone was undeniably flirtatious. "Can't wait to see you again," one read. Another said, "Last night was amazing." My blood ran cold. DJ Mike? Who the hell was DJ Mike? I heard the shower turn off, and quickly put everything back in place. My mind was spinning. Chelsea was hiding something, and I was determined to find out what. She came downstairs, her hair wrapped in a towel, looking more relaxed. "I'm going to bed early," she said, avoiding my eyes. "It's been a long day." I nodded, trying to keep my expression neutral. "All right. I'll be up in a bit." As she headed to the bedroom, I stayed on the couch, my mind racing. DJ Mike. Whoever he was, he had to be the key to this whole mystery. I needed to find out more, but how? Confronting Chelsea now would only make her defensive. The night dragged on, and I barely slept. My thoughts kept returning to the messages, to the missing ring, to the look in Chelsea's eyes. I had to know the truth, even if it meant uncovering something that would change everything. The next morning, I decided to take a different approach. "Hey, I was thinking," I said casually over breakfast, "why don't we go out tonight? Just the two of us." Chelsea looked surprised, but she quickly masked it. "Sure, that sounds nice. Any special occasion?" "Just felt like we haven't spent much time together lately," I said, forcing a smile. "It'll be fun." She nodded, but I could see the apprehension in her eyes. "All right, let's do it." I spent the day planning. I wanted to see how she reacted in a social setting, if she seemed distracted or if she made any excuses. By the time evening rolled around, I was a bundle of nerves. We went to a trendy bar downtown, a place we used to frequent when we first started dating. The atmosphere was lively, the music loud. Chelsea seemed more relaxed than she had in days, laughing and chatting as we found a table. As the night wore on, I kept a close eye on her. She seemed genuinely happy, but there was still a shadow of something else lurking beneath the surface. I decided to test the waters. "Hey, I'm going to grab another drink," I said, standing up. "Want anything?" She shook her head. "No, I'm good." I made my way to the bar, keeping an eye on her from a distance. That's when I saw him, a man about our age, with a confident swagger and an air of familiarity. He made his way to our table, and Chelsea's face lit up with recognition. "Hey, Mike," she greeted him warmly, her voice carrying over the noise. "I didn't expect to see you here." "Mike. DJ Mike." My heart pounded in my chest as I watched them interact. They were too comfortable, too familiar. I stayed at the bar, hidden in the crowd, observing. Chelsea laughed at something he said, and he leaned in closer, their conversation lost in the din of the bar. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to confront them then and there. I needed to be sure, needed more evidence. But the way she looked at him, the way she smiled, it was more than enough to confirm my suspicions. When I returned to the table, Mike had moved on, disappearing into the crowd. Chelsea seemed a bit flustered, but she quickly composed herself. "Ready to go?" she asked, her voice a bit too bright. "Yeah, let's get out of here," I replied, my mind racing. As we walked to the car, I knew one thing for certain, this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The drive home was silent, both of us lost in our thoughts. I could feel the weight of what I had discovered pressing down on me, and I knew I had to do something about it. Chelsea was hiding something, and I was going to find out exactly what it was. That night, as we lay in bed, I stared at the ceiling, my mind churning with plans. This was just the beginning. I would uncover the truth, no matter the cost. And when I did, Chelsea would have to face the consequences. The days after our night out were tense. Chelsea seemed to sense my growing suspicion, and her attempts to act normal only made her behavior seem more forced. My resolve to uncover the truth about DJ Mike and her deepened with each passing day. One Friday evening, Chelsea announced she was going out with some friends from work. "It's been a stressful week," she said, avoiding my eyes. "I just need to unwind a bit." "Sure," I replied, feigning nonchalance. "Have fun." Inside, my heart pounded with a mix of fear and anticipation. This was my chance. After she left, I quickly grabbed my coat and keys. I followed her car at a distance, my mind racing with possibilities. Where was she going? Was she meeting Mike? My pulse quickened as she pulled into the parking lot of a downtown bar, the same bar where we had seen Mike. I parked a few spaces away and watched as she entered. Waiting a few minutes to ensure she wouldn't spot me, I followed her inside. The bar was packed, the air thick with the smell of alcohol and the sound of laughter and music. I scanned the room, searching for her familiar face. Then I saw her, sitting at a small table near the back. And there he was, DJ Mike, leaning in close, his hand casually resting on her arm. My blood boiled, but I forced myself to stay calm. I needed more than just a confrontation, I needed proof. I found a seat at the bar, positioning myself so I could watch them without being seen. The bartender, a tall guy with a friendly smile, approached me. "What'll it be?" "Whiskey, neat," I replied, barely glancing at him. My attention was fixed on Chelsea and Mike. As the bartender prepared my drink, I overheard snippets of their conversation. They were talking and laughing, their body language intimate and familiar. Chelsea seemed relaxed, a stark contrast to her recent behavior at home. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I glanced at it. Brian, my best friend, was calling. I hesitated before answering, keeping my voice low. "Hey, man. Alex, where are you? You sound weird." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "I'm at that bar downtown. Chelsea's here. With Mike." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "Do you need backup?" I considered it for a moment. "Yeah. Actually, that might be a good idea. I need someone to witness this." "I'm on my way," Brian said, hanging up. I took a sip of my drink, my eyes never leaving Chelsea and Mike. As the minutes ticked by, their conversation grew more animated. Mike leaned in, whispering something in her ear that made her laugh. My grip tightened around my glass. The bartender noticed my tension. "Everything all right, buddy?" I forced a smile. "Yeah, just a rough night." He nodded, giving me a sympathetic look before moving on to the next customer. Brian arrived about 15 minutes later, his eyes scanning the bar until he spotted me. He slid onto the stool next to me, following my gaze. "That's him." I nodded, my jaw clenched. "That's him." We watched in silence for a few more minutes. Then, as if to confirm my worst fears, Chelsea reached across the table and took Mike's hand. He smiled at her, his thumb gently stroking her palm. "That's enough," I muttered, standing up. "Let's go." Brian followed me as I made my way through the crowd. My heart pounded in my chest, a mix of anger and adrenaline fueling my steps. When I reached their table, I cleared my throat loudly. Chelsea's head snapped up, her eyes widening in shock. "Alex? What are you doing here?" "I could ask you the same thing," I replied coldly. "Out with friends, huh? Is this your idea of unwinding?" Mike's expression turned wary, and he let go of Chelsea's hand. "Hey, man, this isn't what it looks like." "Isn't it?" I shot back, my voice rising. "Because it looks pretty damn clear to me." Chelsea stood up, her face pale. "Alex, please, let's talk about this at home." "No," I said firmly. "We're talking about this right now." "Who is he, Chelsea? And don't lie to me." She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. The bar had gone silent, all eyes on us. I could feel the weight of everyone's stares, but I didn't care. I needed answers. Mike stood up, raising his hands in a placating gesture. "Look, this is just a misunderstanding. Chelsea and I." "Save it," I snapped. "I don't need your excuses." Brian stepped forward, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Alex, let's step outside. This isn't the place." I took a deep breath, nodding reluctantly. "Fine. But this isn't over." Chelsea followed us out, her face etched with worry. Once we were outside, away from prying eyes, I turned to her. "Explain." Tears welled up in her eyes. "Alex, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen." "Didn't mean for what to happen?" I demanded. You've been lying to me, Chelsea. About your ring, about Mike, about everything. She wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. Mike he's just a friend. I was confused, and I made a mistake. But nothing happened, I swear. Do you expect me to believe that? I asked, my voice breaking. I saw the messages, Chelsea. I saw how you looked at him. She shook her head, reaching for my hand. Alex, please. I love you. I don't want to lose you. I pulled my hand away, my heart aching. You should have thought of that before. I need time to think. I turned and walked away, Brian falling into step beside me. You did the right thing, man, he said quietly. You needed to confront her. I don't know what to do, I admitted, my voice hollow. Everything feels so messed up. Brian sighed. Take it one step at a time. Figure out what you want, and don't let her guilt you into anything. We walked in silence for a while, my mind a whirlwind of emotions. The betrayal cut deep, and I knew there was no easy fix for this. But one thing was clear, this was far from over. That night, as I lay in bed, sleep eluded me. The image of Chelsea and Mike together haunted my thoughts. I had to find a way to move forward, to take control of my life again. And if that meant getting back at Chelsea, then so be it. She had broken my trust, and I would make sure she felt the same pain. The next morning, I woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. I would uncover the full extent of her betrayal, and I would make her pay. This was just the beginning, and I was ready for whatever came next. The next morning, the tension in the house was palpable. Chelsea tried to act normal, but the strained smiles and awkward silences were impossible to ignore. I knew that confronting her had only scratched the surface. I needed a plan, a way to get to the truth and make her understand the depth of her betrayal. After breakfast, I decided to take a walk to clear my head. The crisp morning air helped to soothe my nerves, and as I strolled through the park, an idea began to form. If Chelsea was truly cheating on me, she would have left a trail. I needed to find it, but I couldn't do it alone. I pulled out my phone and called Brian. Hey, Brian, I said when he answered. I need your help. Of course, man, he replied. What's up? I need to dig deeper into Chelsea's life. Her texts, her emails, everything. There's got to be more to this than what I saw last night. Brian sighed. All right. I know a guy who's good with this sort of thing. Let's meet up, and we'll figure out a plan. An hour later, we met at a small cafe on the edge of town. Brian introduced me to Mark, a tech-savvy friend of his who specialized in cybersecurity. Mark was a tall, lanky guy with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow and a mischievous glint in his eye. So, you want to get into her phone and email? Mark asked, sipping his coffee. Yes, I replied. I need to know everything she's been hiding. Mark nodded thoughtfully. I can do that. But it's going to take some time and access to her devices. Chelsea's been going out a lot lately, I said. I can make sure she leaves her phone behind one evening. Will that work? Mark grinned. Perfect. Just get me the phone, and I'll take care of the rest. That evening, I put the plan into action. Chelsea had mentioned a work meeting that would run late, so I made sure to hide her phone charger. As she was getting ready to leave, she realized her phone was almost dead. Alex, have you seen my charger? She called from the bedroom. I think you left it at work, I lied, trying to sound casual. You can borrow my power bank if you want. She hesitated, then shook her head. No, it's fine. I'll just go without it. I won't be long anyway. As soon as she left, I grabbed her phone from the kitchen counter and rushed to meet Mark. He worked quickly, plugging the phone into his laptop and typing away with practiced ease. This should only take a few minutes, he said, his eyes glued to the screen. I paced nervously, my mind racing with possibilities. What would I find? Would it be enough to confirm my suspicions, or would it only raise more questions? Finally, Mark looked up, a satisfied grin on his face. Got it. I've cloned her phone and accessed her emails. You'll have full access to everything from your laptop. Thanks, Mark, I said, relief washing over me. I owe you one. Don't mention it, he replied, packing up his gear. Just be careful, Alex. Sometimes the truth is harder to handle than the lies. I nodded, knowing he was right. But I had come too far to back down now. I took Chelsea's phone back home, placing it exactly where she had left it. Then I sat down at my computer and logged into the cloned account. Hours passed as I combed through her messages and emails. At first, everything seemed normal: work correspondence, texts with friends, family updates. But then I found a hidden folder in her email, marked private. My heart pounded as I opened it. Inside were dozens of emails between Chelsea and Mike, dating back several months. Their tone was intimate, filled with inside jokes, plans to meet up, and even some explicit content. Each email was a dagger to my heart, confirming my worst fears. One email, in particular, stood out. It was from Chelsea to Mike, sent just a few days ago. In it, she described how she felt trapped in our marriage, how Mike made her feel alive again, and how she was considering leaving me. Tears blurred my vision as I read the words. The betrayal was deeper than I had imagined. Chelsea wasn't just cheating on me, she was planning to leave me for him. I closed the laptop, feeling a mix of anger and devastation. I needed a way to confront her, to make her see the damage she had done. But more than that, I wanted revenge. I wanted her to feel the same pain I was feeling. The next day, I put my plan into motion. I called Brian and told him what I had found. He listened quietly, offering his support and advice. You need to confront her, he said finally. But do it on your terms. Make sure she knows you're not messing around. That evening, I waited for Chelsea to come home. She walked through the door, looking tired and distracted. I watched her carefully, my heart pounding with anticipation. Hey, Alex, she said, dropping her bag on the floor. I'm exhausted. Long day at work. Chelsea, we need to talk, I said, my voice steady. She looked at me, sensing the seriousness in my tone. What's wrong? I took a deep breath, my hands trembling. I know about you and Mike. Her face went pale, her eyes widening in shock. What are you talking about? Don't lie to me, I snapped, pulling out my phone and showing her the emails. I've seen everything. The messages, the plans, all of it. Chelsea stared at the screen, her face contorting with a mix of fear and guilt. Alex, I can explain. Explain what? I interrupted, my voice rising. Explain how you've been lying to me for months. How you've been sneaking around behind my back. How you've been planning to leave me. Tears filled her eyes as she tried to speak. Alex, please. It's not what you think. Then what is it, Chelsea? I demanded. Because it sure looks like you've been cheating on me and planning to run off with Mike. She collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. I'm so sorry, Alex. I never meant for it to go this far. I was just so unhappy, and Mike, he made me feel alive again. I clenched my fists, fighting the urge to yell. You should have talked to me, Chelsea. We could have worked through this together. But instead, you chose to lie and betray me. She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. Can we please talk about this? Can we try to fix this? I shook my head, my resolve hardening. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. But right now, I need some space. I need time to think. Chelsea nodded, wiping her tears. Okay. I understand. I'll give you space. As she went upstairs to pack a bag, I sat down on the couch, my mind racing. The next steps were clear. I needed to figure out what I wanted, and how to move forward. Chelsea had shattered my trust, but I wasn't going to let her destroy me. The night was long and restless. My thoughts kept returning to the emails, to the lies, to the betrayal. But amid the pain, a new determination began to form. I would get through this. I would find a way to rebuild my life, with or without Chelsea. As dawn broke, I knew one thing for certain: this was just the beginning. And I was ready for whatever came next. The days following our confrontation were surreal. Chelsea moved out to give me space, and I found myself alone in our house, grappling with the reality of her betrayal. I spent hours reading and rereading the emails, each word a fresh wound. But amid the heartbreak, a plan began to form, a plan that would bring closure and justice. I called Brian. "I've decided what I'm going to do," I said, my voice steely with resolve. "What's that?" he asked, concern evident in his tone. "I'm going to confront Mike. He needs to know that I'm not backing down. And Chelsea needs to see the consequences of her actions." Brian hesitated. "Are you sure that's the best idea?" "Yes," I replied firmly. "It's the only way I'll get closure. I need you to come with me." That evening, we drove to the bar where Chelsea and Mike had met so often. I knew from the emails that Mike was DJing there that night. The neon lights of the bar glowed in the evening dusk, casting long shadows on the pavement as we approached. Inside, the music was loud, the crowd lively. Mike was behind the DJ booth, his face illuminated by the flashing lights. I felt a surge of anger as I watched him, remembering all the intimate messages he had exchanged with my wife. Brian and I made our way through the throng of people, and I tapped Mike on the shoulder. He turned, a look of surprise and confusion crossing his face. "Alex? What are you doing here?" "I need to talk to you," I said, my voice barely audible over the pounding bass. Mike nodded, stepping away from the booth and leading us to a quieter corner. "What's this about?" "It's about Chelsea," I said, my anger bubbling to the surface. "I know everything, Mike. I know about the emails, the meetings, everything." Mike's face paled. "Alex, Save it," I interrupted. "I'm not here to listen to your excuses. I'm here to make sure you understand the damage you've caused." Brian stepped forward, his presence a silent warning to Mike. "We've seen the emails," he said, his voice low and threatening. "All of them." Mike looked between us, fear and regret etched on his face. "I never meant for it to go this far. Chelsea and I don't care about your intentions," I snapped. "You both betrayed me, and now you're going to face the consequences." At that moment, the bar's entrance swung open, and Chelsea walked in. She spotted us immediately, her face a mask of shock and horror. She hurried over, her eyes wide with panic. "Alex, what are you doing here?" "I'm finishing this," I said, my voice cold. "You need to see what your actions have led to." Chelsea's eyes darted between Mike and me. "Alex, please, let's not do this here." "No," I said firmly. "This ends now." I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small digital recorder. I had recorded our earlier confrontation, capturing Chelsea's tearful confession. I pressed play, the sound of her voice filling the small corner where we stood. "I'm so sorry, Alex. I never meant for it to go this far. I was just so unhappy, and Mike, he made me feel alive again." Mike's eyes widened as he heard Chelsea's words. "You recorded her?" "Yes," I said, my voice unwavering. "I needed proof of her betrayal. Proof that you both can't deny." Chelsea's face crumpled as she listened to her own words, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. "Alex, It's too late, Chelsea," I said, my heart hardening against her tears. "You made your choices, and now you have to live with them. Mike took a step back, his face ashen. "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to make sure everyone knows the truth," I said. "Your friends, your families, your coworkers. They deserve to know what kind of people you really are." Chelsea's eyes widened in horror. "Alex, please. Don't do this." "I have to," I replied, my voice breaking. "You broke my heart, Chelsea. And now it's time for you to face the consequences." With that, I turned and walked out of the bar, Brian following closely behind. The cool night air hit my face, and I took a deep breath, feeling a sense of resolution wash over me. "Are you okay?" Brian asked, his voice gentle. "I will be," I said, my voice steady. "This is just the beginning of my healing process. I needed to confront them, to make them see the pain they've caused." Brian nodded. "You did the right thing. Now you can start to move on." As we drove home, I thought about the future. It wouldn't be easy, but I knew I had taken the first step towards rebuilding my life. Chelsea and Mike would have to deal with the fallout of their actions, and I could finally begin to heal. The next few weeks were a whirlwind. I filed for divorce, determined to cut all ties with Chelsea. She begged for forgiveness, but my heart was too scarred to consider reconciliation. I moved out of our house, finding a small apartment where I could start fresh. One day, as I was unpacking boxes in my new place, I received a message from an unknown number. It was a link to a video. Hesitant, I clicked on it. The screen filled with footage from a hidden camera, showing Chelsea and Mike in various compromising situations. My heart pounded as I realized someone had been watching them. At the end of the video, a message appeared: "You're not alone. They'll get what they deserve." I stared at the screen, a mix of shock and confusion washing over me. Who had sent this? And why? Just then, my phone rang. It was Mark. "Hey, Alex. I need to tell you something." "What is it?" I asked, my voice tense. "There's more to this than you know," Mark said. "I've been digging around, and I found something interesting. Mike isn't just a DJ, he's been involved in some shady dealings. And Chelsea, she's been helping him." "What are you talking about?" I asked, my mind reeling. "Mike's been using his DJ gigs to cover up illegal activities," Mark explained. "Money laundering, drug deals, you name it. And Chelsea's been right there with him, helping him out." The pieces began to fall into place. Chelsea's late nights, her sudden change in behavior, it all made sense now. She wasn't just cheating on me, she was involved in something much bigger. "I have all the evidence," Mark continued. "We can take this to the authorities. They'll both go down for this." I felt a surge of determination. Let's do it. They deserve to pay for what they've done. In the days that followed, Mark and I worked together to compile the evidence. We handed everything over to the police, and it wasn't long before Chelsea and Mike were arrested. The news spread quickly, and they were both exposed for the criminals they were. As I watched the news report, a sense of justice filled me. Chelsea and Mike had paid the price for their betrayal, and I could finally move forward with my life. Months later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, looking out over the city. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the buildings. I felt a sense of peace that I hadn't felt in a long time. I had been through hell, but I had come out stronger on the other side. And as I watched the sun dip below the horizon, I knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter in my life, a chapter filled with hope, healing, and the promise of a brighter future.